Good day, everyone. So, for today, we will be discussing on our lesson 4 about the sources of information, which is a specific focus about your accessibility and effectiveness. Okay? So, the advent of technology has brought wide opportunities in knowledge production and dissemination. It is true, right? That the gift of this technology and digital age has brought you a lot of opportunity or a window of opportunity to be able to um, search for these bits of information that you might be looking for at that very moment that you are needing it. Okay, so it has also brought wide opportunities in knowledge production and dissemination. So you are being bombarded by a lot of information every now and then, as you might see it from your um, computers and your cell phones in different platforms of the websites and different social media platforms. So bits of information have become largely available anytime, anywhere. Now, this lesson highlights various sources of information that you may use. So, if you could recall during our week 1, lesson 1, right? So, we had discussed about the sources of information. So, we're about to run through on those what we have discussed, and then we will be having additional information on various sources. Okay. Now, what's important here as highlighted is understanding content is also essential. Okay. So, accessibility and effectiveness of contents are also highlighted in this lesson to provide or allow you to compare and contrast information to avoid information gap, misinterpretation, and misinformation. So that's what is very important in determining your content. So you had to look at that accessibility and effectiveness concerns, right? So your computer or what you see on your gadgets, on the screen of your gadgets, in every website that you go to, or what was posted on your social media, whatever you see from there isn't always correct information, right? So you have this principle in computer input called the GIGO. So that stands for garbage in, garbage out. You put in a garbage or you put in information which are not so accurate, then it will be written there and pop up for every reader or whoever digital consumer there is. It will pop up as a garbage too, or an inaccurate information or a misinformation. Okay, so now it's very important for you to be able to compare and contrast the information. Okay, so you can avoid those information gap. You'll be able to identify which are the truthful information from those fake news or any misinformations. So you are expected to identify sources of information, define accessibility and effectiveness, and recognize, compare, and contrast contents of materials viewed from various sources. For your learning task 1, okay, so I'm about to show you in an infographic of the flu, okay, with symptoms and remedies. Now, you have to examine this infographic using the given picture and answer the following question. Okay, so if you would scan through your WHLP, there is in there a learning task 1 and then spaces where you can answer. But please skip that already. Please do not answer that. You'll start with the learning task 3 already. Okay? But for the sake of discussion, let me go through it. Okay? So your learning task 1, the question is, what information can be provided by the said picture? Okay? So from here, you see an infographic, right? That is all about the flu, the symptoms of the flu, and how the flu may be prevented. Your symptoms are the sore throat, muscle pain, cough, rhinitis, fever, and then headache. And how would you be able to prevent it? So you can wear a protection mask. You can habitually exercise, get enough rest, dr- drink warm water. You can rinse your hand regularly and eat uh, vitamin C or fruits and vegetables that are rich in vitamin C. Next question. Which sources or references can you use to find information about the issue or the topic presented? So where do you commonly go if you would want additional information about the flu? Okay, so if you're digitally savvy, or if you have or if you like have an internet connection at home, normally your go-to is a website, a credible website. And since it's all about health, you may want to go to DOH page, or yeah, that's Department of Health, or the World Health Organization website. Okay, what other references can you use? So normally in the clinics, hospitals and clinics, there are catalogs. There are also other reference materials that you can use. And also you can see information such as this from health advocacy materials. Okay, next. So will you easily believe in the information presented? Explain. So this depends on you. Do you think this is believable? Is the information enough for you? You might, right? Based on the infographics, you might, because somehow, upon your assessment, the data presented may be true by your knowledge from the experiences that you had. Like, say, for example, you already had the flu once, and it fits the criteria of the symptoms and how you might be able to prevent it. Okay? Or you might believe because you sense that somehow there is credibility in the infographics by the looks of its visuals and text formats, right? But is that enough, or will that be enough? Okay, so it's about your lesson or learning task one. Ano? Okay, so is the information accessible and effective? So that's a question, and it depends on you. Do you think it achieved the desired result? Or if it's effective, it ought to achieve the desired result. Like, for example, class, you are taking a medicine for a headache. Did it work? Did your headache go away? It might be effective. Now, for this infographic, did it achieve the result that it desires for the reader to grasp? Now, that's the basis of effectivity. Next, and then your accessibility. Is it easy to find? Do you think that the infographic is easy to use? Do you get it already? Okay. So those are the concerns whenever we are looking for accessibility and effectivity. But nonetheless, it's not a very thorough explanation, and we'll get there in the middle of the discussion. This is just for your pre-assessment anyways. Okay, so again, no need to answer your learning task one. Okay, it was already there, was given to you, and I have already somehow discussed it with you. Your learning task 3, you have to read the items carefully and identify what is asked of each item. Okay, so for those who belong to the blended learning class, I would like you to go to your Google Classroom and then go to the tab under week 4 lesson 4 that has your, yeah, this one. It's named lesson 4, task 3. Okay? So I would like you to click the link, the quizzes link there, and then answer those 7 items. For those naman who don't belong to the blended learning, di ba, you have your own answer sheets class, di ba? Okay? So I would like you to browse about those given 7 items and then encircle the letter of the correct answer. Okay? Or the appropriate answer, whichever it is for you. So I'll leave this one to you since it's also part of your pre-assessment. I only wanted to assess what you already know about the topic and what you don't. Okay? Okay, so into the lesson proper. So sources of information. As information is highly available everywhere, it is essential that you identify the sources of your information. Understanding and verifying the sources of your information establish your credibility. Yes, that one's correct. Like for example, what you share, what you write, what you post, or more particularly share in your platforms, what you write in your essays, what you are able to tell, what you are able to produce, it affects your credibility. Mahilig ka bang mag-share ng information without checking? Fact checking. Or like, you do check if that is, there is an ounce of truth in it. Or are you somehow like any others who sees something interesting, doesn't do fact checking, just shares it on their wall? Ayun. So, normally, yung mga ganyan, nai-scam, na-phishing, di ba? Yung mga accounts. Okay? So, your credibility is sort of your integrity. How believable or credible are you? So, evaluating where they came from will help you get rid of the fake news and other unverified information. So, in this information age, your problem normally is that we are being bombarded too with fake news or a lot of black propaganda. See, you see how there is a power play in your social media platforms, particularly in Facebook. So, lalo na ngayon, election. You see how it is a powerful weapon that political parties uses to advocate something that will benefit them, whether it is true or not. Diba? So, you have to be able to evaluate. Okay? So, from our previous lesson 1, diba? There are 3 major sources of information, which is primary, secondary, and tertiary. We'll go about that, pero daanan na lang natin class. I already discussed that thoroughly during week 1. Okay? So, for your primary sources, normally you have the primary documents, the first-hand documents written by those experienced and or see it at the period of research or at the time an event happens. So, these are original documents. Yes, personal accounts, personal documents, pictures, videos, speeches, historical documents, the documents on eyewitnesses' perspective, of course. So, the one which they have obtained from a stance of an eyewitness or from the words of an eyewitness. Literary text, literary works, and letters or communication. So, primary documents might be artifacts class. This one's an added data for your primary sources. Your artifacts are actually the things that was there first-hand side. For example, nasa scene of the crime operatives, what are the artifacts or the things that they see there na hindi nagagalaw pero pwede siyang gamitin as evidences. So, those are artifacts. Okay, you have photos, audio recordings. Your diary can serve as a primary document too. Okay, journals, diaries, video recordings, you have manuals, letters or communication, your speeches, interviews, and other original documents. Okay, so you see from here are excerpts from your learning lesson 1. You have speeches, photographs, video recordings, and government records. Regarding your secondary sources naman, these are the documents written as recount of events. Diba? We already discussed that your primary document serves as your raw document. So something that is fresh from the scene, or something that hasn't even been subjected to interpretation pa. Now, your secondary sources, they are the recounts of the events, okay? So, the author has not personally witnessed what he or she has written. So, it includes interpretation, discussion, commentaries, or evaluations of primary sources. Okay, so examples, you have biographical works. So when you say autobiography, that's the one written by the person about himself or herself. Autobiography, which can be a primary source. When you say secondary, a primary source or primary document. When you say biography naman, that's already secondary kasi it's somebody who wrote about that person. Ano? Like for example, Steve Jobs, biography, I wrote about the recounts of his life. So that's secondary document. You also have evaluation. So you already know what evaluation is, diba? The one that gives result. Then history, the retold version. If it is history or an artifact from history, and that's considered as a primary document. But something as a retold version, that is a secondary document. News not by the eyewitness or the book criticism. Yes, so you have their commentaries, history, critics, newspaper, magazine as your examples. Those are from your lesson. Your tertiary documents naman, tertiary sources, basically collection of information from primary and secondary sources. So, cite for example, you have references such as almanacs, indexes or indices, directories, bibliographies, database, dictionaries, encyclopedia, and abstract. Okay? So, this one is an additional information. So, aside from those presented during your lesson 1, let us go about these additional information sources. Okay. So, added to your information sources, you have scholarly articles. Okay, when you say scholarly articles, documents written by experts or scholars discussing results or scholarly works like research. Okay, and then scholarly articles are peer-reviewed. Ibig sabihin, they were subjected to reviews from peer researchers. Okay, then they are technical and has specific methods. The one you are about to go through, if you go to college, or the one you're about to encounter as your baby thesis in senior high school, is something that is related to your scholarly articles. Okay? So, example of yours, your scholarly article, you have research project and studies. Okay? Next, you have books. So, in your primary, secondary, tertiary sources, books are considered as tertiary source. Okay? So, source providing information in detail, segregated into chapters or parts, and then synthesized version of information. You all know what a book is, right? So, a common example of that is a textbook. So, you also have novels. You also have other set of examples of books that includes fictions, non-fictions, diba? Poetry. So, next you have government documents, reports, censuses, policies, data, and statistics issued and published by the government and its attached agencies. Okay? So, normal examples of your government documents. Ano nga yung government documents natin? That is an example of a primary source. Okay? So, examples, you have court proceedings, laws, orders, reports, and statistics. Okay, next. So, another, you have news or magazine articles. If you could recall, news or magazine articles might belong to your primary or tertiary sources. So, given the different perspective, if it includes your eyewitnesses' statements, then it might be classified as a primary source. If not, then it is secondary pala, sorry. News and magazines might belong to primary or secondary sources. Okay? So, primary if it has or if it portrays your eyewitnesses, statements, and stories. If not, then that is secondary source. Okay? So, normal example of that, you have school paper, ang dyaryo natin, dagat-uban, ang gat-uban. And then you have major newspapers. So major classification, you have tabloid and broadsheets, and then magazines. So any other types of magazines that you encounter, fashion magazine, food magazine, travel magazine, sort of those things. And then you have your reference material classified as a tertiary source, diba? So they are sources providing answers to questions such as statistics, maps, background information, redirecting to the additional sources. They are normally detailed, yes, and they are factual. So example, you have encyclopedia, atlases, almanacs, dictionary, and encyclopedias. Okay, so digging deeper, let us try to assess. Let us try to know more about accessibility and effectiveness. So why are they being highlighted? Why are they so important for you to understand in order to evaluate a certain material? Okay, so as those sources provide significant information, it is your duty to check the information in terms of two criteria, the accessibility and effectiveness. So effectiveness refers to the degree of being able to achieve the desired result based on the objective or purpose. So like I said kanina during your task 1, aside for example class, your classmate or your friend, your family has told you na, oh, try mo tong kape na to, nakakapayat, promise. So how would you know if that is effective? Pumayat ka ba? So the end point is, what is the target goal? Were you able to arrive at that desired result? Kasi kung hindi siya effective. Diba? So it's the same with your information that you are somehow evaluating. So if you wrote something and you have achieved what it is that you wanted your readers to understand, kung siya ay nakakatawa, natawa ba sila? Kung ang um, goal mo upon writing a certain story ay matakot sila, or being able to feel anything at all, were you effective on that aspect? Okay? Then you have accessibility. It refers to the quality of being easy to find, obtain, or get, and then easy to use. Is it accessible? Like, cite for example, your accessibility of the materials in your Google Classroom depends if you have internet resources, diba? Or connection. If not, then it is not accessible. So, something alike. Okay. So, when you say accessibility, you have 4 areas where you can focus in evaluating your material. So, first one is text accessibility. So, arrangement of words for them to be able to be easily accessed. Image accessibility provides additional information about the text or concept. Audio accessibility provides additional information through listening skills. And then, video accessibility provides additional information through listening and viewing skills. So, what does that mean? Binasa mo lang naman yan. Okay, so let's try to delve deeper. So, when you say text accessibility, arrangement of words for them to be easily accessed, you do recall, right, that in every bits of information that you are searching or looking for, there comes different format. Okay? So, makikita nyo rin in your in your Microsoft Word, pansin nyo, meron kayong mga headings doon sa types of headings na format. This is like that. Okay? So, there is a correct heading. There is also an incorrect heading. Okay? So, how will your text be easily understood or obtained by your readers? Okay? So, aside for example, from here, you have cats and dogs, home, cats and dogs. So, there is a certain format, from the heading, caps lock ba siya? Should it be bold? Should it follow a certain hierarchy? If it follows a certain hierarchy, normally, yung mga mas nasa taas, mas malalaki yung font nila. And then, in bold, di ba? If you wanted to highlight something. Then the rest down there, it's on your paragraph type, it appears to be a bit smaller of the font. Okay? So that's what you mean by text accessibility. So, hindi lahat ng ipoproject mo sa iyong poster or material should be all caps para basang-basa, right? It's not just about that, okay? It's not all about that from the eligibility point of view, okay? So, when you say naman image accessibility, it provides additional information about the text or concept. So, we would notice, class, at image accessibility, you have alt text. Kapag nag-search ka, normally in the websites, lalo na kapag mga Google Images, there appears somehow your alt text. So, what's your alt text? So, they are descriptions that adequately describes the content of the image without becoming too lengthy or overly descriptive. Okay? So, cite for example from here, Kent State University. The alt text is, students walk through the new arch on the Esplanade extension that connects the Kent State campus with downtown Kent. Yeah, so your alt text, the purpose of that for your image accessibility. Sometimes if the image appears too blurry or if they cannot really access or see what is there in the image, your alt text helps them to know what was exactly there. Okay? So another, you have Flash and fans cheer on men's basketball team, view the 2017 season schedule. Okay? So the alt text description tells the user what to expect if they select the link. So that's another example of your image with an alt text that provides for an image accessibility. Okay? Alright? So next, you have audio accessibility. So, it provides additional information through your listening skills. So, paano to? So, for example, given that we are able to view something, we can easily tell, or the information is subject to our own interpretation. But what if some others, cite for example, they cannot see the material, so will this play? Let me try. Okay, so try to view this one.
Ooh, hello.
Okay, so that was, wait lang. Okay, so that's one, that one's an example of a video, right? But then what do you mean by audio accessibility exactly? So how does it provide an additional information just by listening at it? Okay, so this one is an example of a video that has an audio accessibility.
from the creators of Tangled and Wreck-It Ralph, Disney. A carrot-nosed, coal-eyed snowman shuffles up to a purple flower peeping out of deep snow.
Hello.
He takes a deep sniff. His nose lands on a frozen pond. A reindeer looks up and pants like a dog. Seeing the reindeer slip on the ice, the snowman smiles and moves towards him, though actually he's running on the spot.
Okay,
From the
so
creators
with
of
that,
Tangled.
you can see that from your audio accessibility, diba? But just by listening at it, if somebody might not be able to see it, at least they have a clue, or they might be able to access it through listening. That's audio accessibility. When you say video accessibility naman, it provides additional information through listening and viewing skills. So, cite for example, class, this one is an example of, what's this? iMovie recording audio. So you see from here, this might be a recording, or this might be somehow just any other video. Ano? When you say video accessibility, aside from what people are able to view, you also give them, aside from what people might be able to listen to from your video, you give them additional access to viewing. Not just what is the content of what they are viewing or what you are presenting. So you see from here at this side, class. Okay, so this side is an example of a transcript. Okay, normally, say for example, kayo ay magre-report, you have your PowerPoint presentation. That's visuals. Okay, so they are listening to you, but what other aids can you provide them for the visuals so that they may understand what you are saying? So you can add their cite for example transcripts from there, and then you have closed caption down there. Okay, that's video accessibility. Okay, now, so the sources of information, why do you have to review your sources? So that your readers will, number one, satisfy the expectation of the academic community that you are writing for. Okay, so your academic community is expecting something from you. And what is that? From your credibility, that somehow what you are writing from there, what you are presenting them is based from facts. It's factual. Okay? And show evidence of wide, informed, and relevant reading. Wag share ng share, class. You know, there's this big gap right now going through, parang it's like a political circus in Facebook today. So you will see kung sino sa kanila shares information that is informed and is grounded on several relevant readings. Okay, number 3, show that your writing does not rely mainly on personal opinion. Okay, that's why you review sources of information, right? So that when you present them with information, it doesn't necessarily only come from your own experiences or opinions. Okay, next, show the process by which you have arrived at your own conclusion about the topic. So, meron dito class in your, I think it's learning task 6, in which you are about to write a 3 to 5 paragraph essay about a given material. Okay, so why do you have to add additional information from various sources, and why do you have to review them, diba? Show the process by which you have arrived on your own conclusion about the topic. So you have an informed topic and supporting evidences. How did you arrive at that conclusion? How does your conclusion become effective and striking to your readers? Diba? Okay? So you enable the reader to understand and evaluate the ideas and information that you are presenting. Next, show your ability to integrate material from a range of sources. Okay? So you review the sources of information so that you can show them your ability to integrate the material from a range of sources. So yeah, that's like you showing them that what you have written, cite for example for an essay, for an informative, a descriptive one, isn't just about what you were thinking about. You have done readings too, relevant readings, you have research if needed be, diba? Okay, next, show evidence of an analytical and critical approach to your source material. Yes, by means of reviewing your sources of information, you do that. You go to relevant websites, the credible ones, the reliable ones, diba? It shows an evidence of an analytical and critical approach. Hindi ka lang yung joining the bandwagon of sharing this and that without knowing, di ba? If what you were sharing is really right or misinformed. Enable the readers to follow up references or perspectives of particular interest to them. Okay? Yes. So normally, cite for example, you have your scholarly articles. They are interested in what you were researching. So you provide them, diba, with follow-up references. Okay? So for further readings, for future directives of other researches, okay? And then lastly, you avoid plagiarism by means of reviewing your sources of information. Yes, that's correct. Hindi copy-paste, tapos without even citing the sources, properly citing the sources. Okay, so that's about it. Sums about your lesson for sources of information and highlighting your effectiveness and accessibility topic. Now, for your learning task 5, okay, in each information source, provide at least 5 examples of documents classified under their groups. So, we'll skip task 4 kasi you already know naman how to categorize into primary, secondary, and tertiary sources. Now, what you are about to do is provide at least 5 examples of documents. Documents. I don't want you to write there parang specific titles of something. Like, halimbawa, books. Bibigyan niyo ako ng 5 na title ng book. Not that. An example of a document under the category of the book. Okay, so cite for example for your scholarly article. So cite for example for your scholarly article. You have pwedeng example niyan, empirical research, pwede yung mga review articles, book reviews, pwede rin yung journal editorial. So, you write there, under there. And then, under the books naman, so ano mga normal example ng books natin? You have novels, diba? Textbooks, fictions, non-fiction books, memoirs, poetry, and such. Then, you have government documents, you have statistics, court proceedings, blah, blah. You have news or magazines. So, sa example ng news nyo, you have tabloid, school paper, you have broadsheet, or magazines, you have any magazines will do. Fashion magazine, I like that. So, you have reference materials, you're very particular with that. So, examples of those, you have dictionaries, atlases, almanacs, and such. Okay? So, you're just going to write down there. Alright, next. Okay, so for your learning task 6 naman, ayan, so you're about to create a 3 to 5 paragraph essay. So this is what I'm talking about. No? Okay, are you familiar with the cybercrime law? Okay, so here you are you're gonna be presented with this infograph. Okay, cybercrime complaints in the Philippines. So this is according to, okay, your source is PNP, Anti-Cybercrime Group. Okay, so what are you about to do? Number 1, identify the major points presented in your infographic. So, paano ka gagawa ng 3 to 5 paragraph, as paragraph has, not sentences, paragraph. Okay, so in developing your essay, use various sources, such as scholarly articles, book, government documents, reference materials, and news or magazine article. Okay, so what's your task in writing the 3 to 5 paragraph essay? Identify the major points presented in your infographic. So, ano ba yung major points there? Okay? So, and then determine the meaning of each identified conflict below. Or complaint below, I'm sorry. Okay, so example niyan, class, you remember your hamburger writing, diba, in your lesson 2? Okay, remember that on the top of it, the first paragraph, you write your topic sentence. Then you have supporting sentences before your concluding sentences. So, bigyan ko kayo ng example. Okay? So, on this side, okay. So, this part, the topic sentence will be this one. So, according to a press release from the Philippine National Police Anti-Cybercrime Group, PNP-ACG, a total of 1,211 cybercrime complaints were filed with them from 2013 to 2015. So, the top 5 complaints were blah, blah, blah. Okay? So, you can start from there. So, paano mo lalagyan ng next supporting sentence? So, pwedeng ilagay mo dun is, you define cybercrime and cybercrime law. Diba kanina, ang sabi doon, you would have, you would have to search or browse for other sources of information para maging credible or effective yung inyong writing. So, you can browse the internet so that you can define the cybercrime and the cybercrime law. Okay? Next, another supporting sentence. Okay. So, define the online scam, online libel, online threats. So, 3 of them. You can also write in your supporting sentence 3, that's paragraph 4. Define another, your identity theft, then photo and video voyeurism. Okay? So, finally, you'd be able to wrap things up. So, for the conclusion or the wrap up, you can say there are 44 million internet users in the Philippines as of 2014, blah, blah, blah. So, this one's according to GMA News. Okay? That's where it came from. And then, cite. Okay, this one's very important, okay? You cite the significance of your cybercrime law. So, how do you wrap things up? Diba? You start with the report, overall or overview, and then you go one by one with your supporting sentences, defining those that were involved in the top 5 complaints, and then you wrap things up. How do you conclude? Syempre, you need to cite the significance of the cybercrime. Okay? And finally, so for your learning task 8 in your notebook, write a 5-sentence essay on your reflection on the importance of understanding the content of a particular material in terms of accessibility and effectiveness. So, it's only 5 sentences class. Siguro naman sa haba ng diniscuss ni may natatandaan kayo na importance or significance kung bakit mahalaga na naiintindihan natin yung content in terms of accessibility and effectiveness. Okay? So, that sums about your lesson 4. Information from various sources, effectiveness and accessibility. So should you have any more questions, you can send me a private message or you can send that in our GC na lang. Yes, you can ask. Okay, so that will be all for today. I will leave you to it for you to do the assignments and other tasks. Okay, I am hoping that you would have a great day. Thank you very much and keep safe, everyone. Goodbye.